He negotiates at the ATM. He tips with coupons, then asks for change. He doesn't celebrate Christmas, but he installs a parking meter on his roof, just in case. After his meal arrives, the waiter comes over and asks, "Is anything all right?" He still clips the ridges off coins, just to stay up on his skill set. He's already suing this channel. When his son asked to borrow $20, he accepted and lent him $10. His favorite movie is a few dollars more. He's never seen it, he just likes the title. His hands have been rubbing together for so long, he started a fire and a lawsuit. He causes traffic jams when there is loose change on the street. When he goes shopping, companies write IOUs to him for his purchases. Around other Jews, he's Jewish. Around everyone else, he's white. When he loses a debate with another person, he calls them an anti-Semite. He's been kicked out of 109 bars and still blames the bars. He blesses bagels before slicing and debates you on which schmear is kosher. He is the most Jewish man in the world.
I don't always drink, but when I do, I keep the glass, the napkin, and the receipt for tax reasons. Stay frugal, stay suspicious, stay kosher.
Hey Sol, what's happening, mate? Got Sol with me today, folks. Nutcha was actually taken a little ill this morning. She had a bit of a seizure. She's in doggy hospital at the moment, but we've been informed that she's going to be fine, and we'll get her back here tomorrow, get her on the Tzla Machine, and see what we can do for her with that. She's had a few health issues for a while, but it's been hard to get her on the machine. It kind of scares her. But I saw her mother on it the other day. Didn't mind at all. So I'm thinking perhaps if I wrap her up in a towel, maybe we'll be able to do that. But yeah, great little opening clip, hey? The most Jewish man in the world, and ain't that the truth? And what a circus it's become. I mean, I keep saying that, but it just keeps getting worse. It's just unbelievable. Some of the stuff that Trump is doing at the moment, like the whole UFC arena on the White House lawn. So incredibly tacky. I thought he was putting all this together for the 4th of July, like for a big 250-year celebration for the United States, but no, he did it all for his birthday. Oh my Lord, unbelievable, like how narcissistic. He's just incredible, like just, it's ridiculous, unbelievable. I can't even put words to what this guy does. But yeah, so tacky, and to do that while all this other shit's going on, like all this death and destruction that's going on in Iran and in Lebanon and in Gaza. Israel is still absolutely bombing the shit out of Gaza. Like as soon as Trump announced his peace deal with Iran, which is basically just capitulating to Iran's needs, doing anything he can to open the Straits of Hormuz is really all he's doing. And trying to get people to forget about the Epstein files. I mean, the whole war was started to detract from the Epstein files, and that didn't really work. And so now he's having this whole UFC birthday party bullshit bash on the White House lawn and restoring the reflecting pool and all this sort of crap to distract from the fact that he's just lost 14 US bases in the Persian Gulf, and he's just destroyed the petrodollar and destroyed the United States' reputation, and is collapsing the United States economy and everything else. So what do? You have a big birthday bash on the White House lawn. I saw a great meme someone posted, something about you can tell when an empire is collapsing when you see gladiators being brought to the Capitol. And it's pretty true. I mean, the United States is absolutely in its death throes. Trump has just completely lost the plot. And while all this is happening, even like everything he's done, like he's so narcissistic, it's unbelievable. When he did the Trump Arch, the way he put the Trump and Kennedy Memorial Center, changed it to the Trump and the Kennedy Memorial Center, but didn't remove the V from Kennedy. So it wasn't the Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center, it was the Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center. It didn't make any sense at all. But apparently they took that down the day before his birthday. And he's just a narcissistic fool. But doing all of this sort of stuff while there's all this death and destruction and carnage and stuff that's going on. And as soon as he announced his peace deal with Iran, which apparently Iran doesn't know anything about, and Israel isn't going to abide by anyway, but as soon as he announced that, Israel just went hell for leather in West Bank, started annihilating villages, like gangs of settlers were going in there. They took out like 3 villages in one night. They're just setting fire to places and running people out of their homes.
كنت في الجامع أستنظر في صلاة العشاء، سمعت صوت في باب الجامع، طلعت على الشباك، طلعت لهم مستوطن معاه طرمبة بنزين، رش علي وعلى الشباك وولع النار. ولعت النار في الشباك، أنا رجعت لورا. بعدين اجت المطافي وطفوها لعلم السيارة تبعي وسيارة واحد ثاني معي.
I arrested a 2-year-old in West Bank the other day. Who does that? Arrests a 2-year-old. There's another guy, a 40-year-old guy, businessman, just sitting there having lunch at a cafe with his son and 2 of his friends, and an Israeli sniper just shot him with a drone for amusement. Yeah, he died from that. This is what they do. It's incredible what Israel does and what Israel gets away with. Pretty much anything it wants. I mean, with all of this stuff going on, Trump saying there's a ceasefire, Israel saying, well, no, we're not going to stop firing. We're not going to stop annexing Lebanon. Ben Gvir is saying, no, we're going to stay there. He's urging people to kidnap women and children from Lebanon because he says this demoralizes the soldiers. It's just insane. Israel's out of control. And while they're doing this, like genociding Gaza, and like I said, they're bombing tent cities and just burning places.
اوعى شلك باد
The yellow line, apparently there's a yellow line, which is where the people from Gaza live now, and then the Israeli bases are all on the other side. They've occupied 70% of the Gaza Strip, but they're just crossing the yellow line and they're raiding tents. Going in there with armed soldiers, going in there and raiding tents of the homeless people from Gaza and destroying their tents and stealing whatever they've got in the tent. I mean, these people are sick beyond compare. And while they're doing this, they've taken over 20% of Lebanon. And while they're doing that, they're also taking over farms in Syria. And I saw a video the other day of them setting off charges in Jordan as well. Moving the borders. They're not invading Jordan, they're just expanding Israel's borders. You see the way they do this with the wording. It's like they didn't invade Lebanon, they just made an incursion into Lebanon. Of course, Russia invaded Ukraine. It wasn't an incursion, they invaded. But Israel didn't invade anyone. They simply made incursions into Lebanon, and they're making incursions into Syria, and they're just expanding their borders into Jordan. But they're not invading anybody. You see how this works, folks? Clever word magic. That's how they do all of it. But it's just going full on, and it's not stopping. And a lot of people have asked me, why I put so much focus on Palestine when there's white genocide happening in our countries. Why have I put so much focus on the Middle East? And the thing is that it is this little podunk country in the Middle East called Israel that is the one that is running all the NGOs that are setting up all of these Israeli companies and setting all these migrants into Europe. It's Israeli NGOs that are doing the whole thing. See, Israel's taken over the US military system since 1948, so you never saw any Muslim extremism or terrorism in the world prior to 1948, did you folks? Because that's when Israel was formed. And Israel goes in and it destabilizes all of these Middle Eastern countries. It uses US firepower to cry victim and say we need help, so the US goes and fights wars for it. And that's basically what it uses America for. I mean, it's got to the point that there's so much Israeli control over the United States that it's got to the point that people are realizing that the United States is basically just a farm between Canada and Mexico where Israel grows its soldiers that it needs for its wars. And all of these people have gone in and they've destabilized all of these Muslim countries, not just Muslim countries, just Middle Eastern countries. See, that's the thing, it's always Muslims. And it's not, it's just Middle Eastern. It's like Palestine is 35% Christian. Lebanon is at least 50% Christian. Iran, there's a whole bunch of Christians and Jews that live in Iran. It's not Muslim. They want you to define things this way, Muslim countries, it's Muslim invasions. No, it's Middle Easterners that have been driven out of their countries because of US military action, which they've done on behalf of Israel. And Israel's done this purposefully. And then it's Israeli NGOs that are then moving all these migrants into the West and starting all the havoc as well. There was a report I saw on the People's Voice the other day. I don't know whether I trust the People's Voice, but this report said that it's been leaked that Mossad is funding some migrants to do horrendous things like start riots and murder white people, rape white people, cut heads off people. We saw in Ireland recently an attempted beheading by an illegal immigrant in Ireland, which caused huge riots to happen in Belfast. This happened right after we saw this report saying that Mossad is actually paying people to go and behead people in Western countries such as Ireland. Then we see an attempted beheading in Ireland, and then we see huge riots break out. We see houses being set on fire, windows being smashed, and riots just breaking out all across Belfast. And then we get reports that the people who set the houses on fire and were smashing the windows were actually Israeli immigrants in Ireland who are setting the houses of other immigrants on fire. So you see how this all works out, folks. You've got Israelis using the United States and Britain to bomb Muslim countries or Middle Eastern countries. You've got Israeli NGOs flooding the West with migrants. Then you've got Israelis paying the migrants to carry out beheadings. And then you've got Israeli immigrants starting the violence against the migrants who carried out the beheadings, because what they want is a race war on the ground in all of our countries. This is something I've been saying since 2010 or even 2008, since my first film. All of this multiculturalism, all of these enclaves of immigrants that are being set up, none of them are assimilating into the culture. None of them are integrating. They're all setting up like Lebanese town and Chinatown and Japan town and whatever town, Mongolia town, whatever. You know, Sudan town, Somalia town, in our cities. So you've got all of this racial division happening within our cities, in our countries already, and it's all been done, it's all been planned to be this way. All you've got to do is create worldwide conflict against some of the countries where you've got these enclaves in your cities, and it's like having a fifth column in your country. And this has all been done by design. And it's all going exactly the way they want it to go. And tensions between the United States and Israel are now extremely strained. But this is predictable as well. It's really interesting to see just how quickly Israel just throws the United States under a bus. They're saying the United States has betrayed us by not just obliterating Iran and turning everything there to rubble and killing everybody the way Israel would like to do, the way Israel has done with Gaza and the way it's doing with Lebanon. See, this is what Israel calls fighting a war. You've got to actually turn everything to rubble, and you've got to kill, rape and torture everybody who lives there, because that's what you do to your enemies. This is the way Israelis think. It's a really, really sick ideology. But it appears that Donald Trump isn't prepared to go along with that, because he knows that the people at home aren't prepared for him to do that. And so he's trying to make some sort of a peace deal to get the Straits of Hormuz open again. Otherwise he's going to look like a bigger fool than he already looks like, which is just ridiculous. I mean, He's in the White House the other day with all this stuff going on, and he's asleep during the meeting, just fully asleep, and then wakes up with a huge sleep fart, and everybody in the room tries to ignore it.
Again, working through all the permitting to drive towards that so that we can be selling clean, reliable energy to our allies in the Pacific who want to do more trade with us. And lastly, again, thank you for creating the National Energy.
And it's crazy when you look at that and you think, well, this is the leader of the free world. Unbelievable. Well, he's not. He's the puppet. He's the face of the leader of the free world. But really, he's just a puppet. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But, you know, there's so much theatrics going on with all of this, folks. I mean, there's so much death and destruction going on, which is what Israel wants. They want this war on the ground. But while it's all happening, as I've said before, while it's all going on, what's being rolled out underneath it is this whole smart grid, this smart prison that they want you caught into and locked into. What all the electric cars are all about, they want you geo-fenced.
I've made videos talking about these driver monitors and how it's constantly watching you when you drive the car, but there is something that's very creepy about them. In real life, this is all that you see, is this kind of little black rectangle above the steering wheel. But if you have the right frame rate set on your camera, you can see the two red dots that are tracking your eyes. So you have these invisible red eyes that are constantly staring at you.
This is something that a lot more people should be very concerned about, because these new monitor systems for drivers are being installed on more and more new vehicles. And what they're doing is they're tracking your eye gaze, head position, blink rate, and face direction. And if it deems that you're doing something that it doesn't like, first it'll just nag you forever with a noise. And then if it feels like it needs to intervene, then it can even stop your vehicle, slow it down, or veer it off to the side of the road. Now just imagine what would happen if somebody like the government got in control of a system like this. They could do all kinds of things that you don't want them to do. They could stop your car so you couldn't go anywhere. They could geo-fence you so you could only go in certain locations. And then put that on top of the fact that the government is trying to mandate kill switches in all cars. All of this is coming together in a very scary way.
What everything's all about, all these geo-fencings, everything that they do is designed to impede your freedom and to steal from you. And even the electric cars, the Tesla cars, this isn't based on Tesla technology. It's just using the name Tesla because it sounds cool. Tesla technology was ethereal energy, the free energy of the universe that Nikola Tesla wanted to bring to the world. Cars that run on big lithium batteries, this is not Tesla technology. Apparently, Tesla actually made a car, and all you needed was a Tesla coil in the car to run the car. See, that's the way he wanted to do everything. He wanted to set up that big tower on Niagara Falls, and he just wanted to pump out a free energy signal from that tower. And all you would need in your house, anywhere across the United States, would have been a Tesla coil. In your toaster, in your hairdryer, in your television set, in your radio, in anything that ran by electricity, in your car, in trains, in boats, in ships, in planes, anything, all you would need would be a Tesla coil to receive the signal that was being put out by the tower he wanted to build on Niagara Falls. And it would have been free to everybody. And all you needed was a Tesla coil in your vehicle, in your toaster, in your hairdryer, in your radio, in whatever device it was that you were using, your stove, your oven, anything that ran off electricity. That's Tesla energy. That's what the Tzla Machine that Jeff's been talking about for so long, that's the stuff. Been a lot of successful things happening with this machine, by the way, too, folks. I mean, while I've been here, I've seen a lot of people just coming around like almost every day. There's like 2 or 3, sometimes 4 people come around in the evenings just so they can use the Tzla Machine. I'm hearing a lot of good reports. I'm hearing a lot of good reports from people that I've referred to my nephew. So this stuff does actually work. Interesting. It really is interesting. But that's the sort of energy that we should be using, not what they're calling Tesla cars. All these Tesla cars and all this electrical stuff they're doing, it's just to geo-fence you, it's just to control you. That's what all the data centers are for. All the stuff we've warned you of the social crediting, the carbon crediting, everything, all of the information that gets sent by your cell phone and gathered by your cell phone, it all goes to these data centers, and this is what will be used to define who you are. That's why they want to bring biometrics and stuff in everywhere. Like when you walk into a supermarket, when you cross a border, when you do anything, you'll be biometrically scanned, and then your biometrics will be automatically linked to everything you've ever done online, everything you've ever said, and you'll be automatically attributed a social credit score depending on what your opinion is and how much that complies with the official narrative on what things should be according to Google and the government and the people with small hats. That's what it's all for. That's what the data centers and all this stuff is for. So, I mean, they've got virtual versions of everybody anyway. They've got like virtual reality world where they've got everything that everybody does tracked and traced. You're able to do it through your credit cards and all that sort of stuff. They track everything everybody does, mainly through your mobile phone data as well, because people carry these things everywhere. So you're able to predict what you're going to do, predict where you're going to go, predict what your movements are by your cell phone movement and by your social media posts and blah, blah, blah. That's what all the data centers are for. Soon there'll be robots that take care of all this sort of stuff and track and trace people. They're already bringing robots in all over the place already. But it's all sold to you as a means of helping you when it's not to help you at all. Nothing they ever do is to help you. It's all to control you. It's all to milk you dry. Everything they do is to milk you dry. It's like nursing homes. You put your family into nursing homes, your parents, when they get old. People do this because in the West, as soon as you turn 18, your parents generally throw you out of home. What's that all about? It doesn't happen in other countries. It doesn't happen here in Mexico. It doesn't happen in Greece or a lot of places across Europe. The families will just expand. You know, when the son meets a girl and gets married, they'll build a little place next door, or they'll buy the place next door for their son and his wife to go and live in. And then when their son and his wife get a bit older and start having children, and the parents start getting a little bit old, well, they'll move into the smaller place and they'll give the son and wife their bigger place. And then when their children grow up a little bit, well, they'll buy the place next door for them. They'll end up owning the whole street. It's the whole family. You know, there'll be 30 or 40 people in the family after, you know, a few generations. They're all owning houses in the same street. It's the same here in Mexico. It's not like that in the West. In the West, kids turn 18 and the parents throw them out, and then the parents wonder why the kids put them in a nursing home at the end of their life. And the nursing homes are just there to milk you dry, basically. They're there to make sure the kids don't get any of their inheritance if the parents were actually going to leave them any. The nursing home has a method of stealing that from the kids. That's why they want you to put them in nursing homes.
The government wants you to put your boomer parents that you don't like in a nursing home. That is their entire goal, is for you to put your boomer parent in a nursing home, particularly if they own a home or any type of asset. Because Medicare, you don't have to pay that back. That is what you get as health insurance when you turn 65 in America. And it doesn't cover much. It covers your basic needs. So they push for you to sign up for Medicaid supplementary. And what they leave out a lot of the times is that when you have Medicaid supplementary, when you're elderly and you pass away, Medicaid seizes all of those assets to pay back whatever you spent in Medicaid, which means that they're going to take houses, businesses, savings, pensions, whatever is left over. They now get that. It is their way of ensuring that middle and lower class people do not acquire any type of generational wealth. Because those companies are going to come in and they're going to seize that house, that land, that business, whatever, and they're not going to sell it back to somebody like us. They're going to sell it to a corporation. That's who's going to come in and buy it. So for everybody that's like, I'm never taking care of my parents, I'm putting them in a home, yada, 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 that's fine if that's what you want to do, but you're going to lose everything that they own if you choose to do that.
Yeah, nothing they do is to help you folks. It's all to disempower you. It's like, even with all the AI stuff, I mean, AI is taking a lot of jobs. How's the irony of this? Like, AI is taking so many jobs from people. And so people just can't make ends meet, so they're having to find new jobs. And there's people who are getting jobs doing things like packing in factories and stuff. And they're saying it's great that I've got this new job packing in a factory because I need the extra income. But what the job actually entails them doing is wearing a headset and monitors so that they're actually training AI while they're doing their job.
Does she know that she is recording data for AI?
The work I'm doing here is getting recorded for helping robotics.
So we're in a textile factory in Karur where 20 odd workers like Kanaki are training AI. They're wearing GoPro headsets and collecting data that is going to be used to train artificial intelligence. In a 30-year-old textile company in Karur, Tamil Nadu, factory workers generate nearly 100 to 150 hours of footage, recording tasks like packing, folding, and stitching during an 8-hour shift to train AI. The workers here are collecting data for Objectways, a US-based AI data solutions company. For nearly 2 years, the company has partnered with this textile unit.
Basically, we have the concern from all the employees who is working here, right? Saying that these data can be used across all parts of. Right now, these data is being used in US and also in India.
I was an electrician before, and the income was not enough for me to run a family. So switching jobs has helped me get enough income for the family to live comfortably.
And career shifts like his may become more common. A 2025 report by the World Economic Forum projected that while automation may displace some jobs, millions of new roles tied to AI, robotics, and data systems are expected to emerge globally.
So I think India is uniquely positioned to take advantage of this current phase. I do wish we had participated in the AI investment, but maybe AI is like electricity where you don't need to invent electricity to take advantage of it.
But why record data this way? Ravi, Objectways founder, says growing demand for physical AI, teaching machines to understand movement and interact with the real world, is driving it.
COVID kind of made them feel that hey, people were not able to get to the factories to do things. If I had things can I start working on robots? Can it start doing some things without humans?
For the textile company too, the partnership has benefits.
We are facing a labor shortage in this industry. So maybe it may be a good idea to have this kind of activities. Maybe we may replace some kind of activities with robotics.
But are workers here worried about AI eventually replacing them? Is he scared that AI will replace him someday?
I know the future is all about robotics, and there are talks of how AI will take over all the jobs, but without manpower. It is not something where AI can operate separately.
My son works in the IT field, so I'm excited about what I'm doing for future here.
We asked Objectways whether this technology could eventually take away jobs, but Ravi says automation isn't only about replacing people.
So isn't that interesting? You've got someone there saying it's great to have a new job, and yet his job is training AI to take the second job that he had to take because of AI. It's insane. So you've got people out there just programming themselves into their own demise and programming AI for them. And AI is getting so much out of everything that's happening. Even with what's going on in Gaza and the genocide, there was a guy being interviewed and he mentioned that someone from Palantir was behind him during this interview, and the guy from Palantir revealed just how much data they've been getting from Gaza, because what they've been doing is mapping people's cell phones and mapping their panic imprint in order to give the information to Palantir.
And here I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story that I keep telling in the last few months because nothing has disgusted me and excited me as much as that conversation I had with a certain gentleman who was sitting on my right at a dinner table. At the dinner after the conference, I was sat next to a guy from Cisco on my left and to another guy that I didn't pay much attention to initially. And I was chatting with the guy from Cisco. It was an interesting conversation that was about quantum computing. And then at some point, a gentleman, a Qatari, on the opposite side of the table, very rich man, but nevertheless, he thanked me for the work I've been doing against genocide in support of the Palestinian people. And the guy next to me, who I didn't know who he was, I didn't know his name, whom he worked for, he said, Gaza, we owe such a huge debt of gratitude to Gaza. And I said, who are you? And he said, I work for Palantir. And I said to him, well, so you owe whom exactly what? You seem to be enjoying the fact that tens of thousands of children were killed there. He said, no, that was terrible. It was terrible. But, and then he pointed at my phone. I had my phone on the desk, on the dinner table. And he said, you see your phone? It is useless to me because it is stationary. When your phone is stationary, it's not moving. It doesn't produce data that I can use. But if you bombard a densely populated area intensely. People move a lot with their phones. Those who don't get killed, he said. He was very cynical, but also quite pleasant, during dinner. And he said, so that created so much data for us that we managed to train our AI that a particular AI agent, which we sold, and then I checked and it was confirmed. We sold for £1 billion sterling, right? That's $1.4 billion to the British Public National Health Service. And I said, what the hell was that piece of AI? What did you sell them? He said, when let's say you're in Manchester or in Birmingham and there is a pile-up at the motorway and 10, 15 ambulances arrive at the hospital, there's panic amongst the nurses, the doctors, and so on. So we have AI that helps them create some order out of the chaos of panic. And we trained that anti-panic AI using the panic imprint, this was the expression, from Gaza. I think that answers your question.
Crazy stuff, folks, and that is absolutely sick that they've been doing it. But like I said before, I sort of got sidetracked. I was saying that a lot of people will ask constantly why I focus so much on Palestine. I went through the whole thing before about how the people that are genociding Palestine are the same people who are flooding Europe with migrants. But the thing is with Palestine, like as I've said so many times, it's the greatest moral dilemma we face, and if we don't heal it, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And we can heal it through Palestine because, as I've said, Israel is a welfare state. It only has the ability to do what it's doing to Gaza and the people of Palestine because of the support it gets from Western politicians. That's us. That's our leaders. This genocide is happening because it's supported by our leaders. That gives us a unique opportunity to deal with our leaders because under the law of all of our countries, you can't support or fund genocide or war crimes. They may debate that there is genocide and war crimes happening, but we know that there is. They can debate it all they want. We're not stupid and we know that this is what's happening. So, it gives us a unique opportunity of how to deal with this issue, folks, and this is something that I've been saying for a very long time. It gives us a way that we can deal with it because soon, it's going to get to the point where we don't have this opportunity because it's going to come to us. It's like the people in Gaza and the people in Lebanon, they don't have any way of dealing with this. They don't have any way of dealing with what's happening to them because they don't have any weapons. They don't have any support. Israel has endless funding. It has the whole US military backing behind it. And it has the funding, like billions and billions of dollars in funding. A lot of the money that gets sent to Israel in funding was actually being funneled to Hamas by Benjamin Netanyahu in order for them to fire a few pipes over the wall and portray themselves as terrorists so that Israel could keep getting its funding. Like Bibi Netanyahu is sending something like $35 million a month to Hamas, and he'd been doing so for years. Part of his strategy, he said. This is all US funding. We know what's going on here. The whole thing's corrupt. And it's all being funded and propped up by Western politicians. And that's a unique opportunity for us. This is why I focused on it so much. But it's getting past that point now because Israel is kind of severing ties with a lot of countries. There's actually 13 countries in the world now who will not accept entry into their country using an Israeli passport. They don't recognise Israel as being a real country. Israel has managed to turn the entire world against them. And it would be a remarkable thing if we actually saw the United States join forces with Iran and take out the Israeli state.
Stupid goy.
Sir! The Twin Towers, they're back! What do we do?
What? We knocked them down decades ago! Son of a bitch! Where the hell am I supposed to hide now?
I love falafel. Great falafel.
The only thing nobody can explain to me is the country it's supposedly from. The falafel exists, I'm holding it. The rest? Two enormous tower-like creatures are tearing through Tel Aviv as we speak. Officials are urging caution, but sources are already asking tonight whether Iran could be involved. We have no confirmation of that, but it's the question everyone is now asking.
What? Who would have thought? The Twin Towers are back in Tel Aviv.
Revenge is ours. This time we will be the ones dancing.
That would probably be the only way the United States would actually regain some faith with the international community, because Israel is an absolute fucking pariah, folks. It is. Like I said, we didn't see any terrorism at all before the creation of the State of Israel, and that should be something for people to think about. You know, all running off the back of the Holocaust, of course. And as I said to you before, I mean, I believed in the Holocaust. If you'd come into my house back in 2012, 2011, 2012, maybe 2011, and told me that the Holocaust wasn't real, I probably would have called you an anti-Semite and asked you to leave my house. But once I visited the camps and started really looking at things, it became apparent that it's not possible to have actually happened. And as I've mentioned before, we didn't see any movies about the Holocaust until about 1972. I certainly had never heard of the Holocaust when I was a child. And I was very interested in history and very interested in things when I was a child. Like, you know, I sort of woke up to the way the world is. I mean, I woke up to the fact that something was terribly wrong before I even started school, like when I was 4 years old, and the fact that we had to buy land, I couldn't understand this. And then when I was about 8 years old and I could read a little bit, I found out about the pyramids and how nobody knew how they were built and all that sort of stuff when I was 8 years old, and I found it fascinating. I spent most of my time looking at encyclopedias, and I was quite interested in the war years, and I never found anything in any of the encyclopedias about the Holocaust. And none of that seems to have appeared until much later.
I really believe this is the smoking gun of all smoking guns, and I believe it's just been overlooked by revisionists and truth tellers. This right here is the so-called Official History of World War II Armed Services Memorial Edition. In other words, it was compiled, put together, and published by the Americans, the American military, and issued to American service members. And it was right at 1945 when it was copyrighted. So barely the end of the war, this was the very first book ever published from the Allies about World War II. And it has extensive, detailed history of all the battles in Egypt and Africa and Europe and Japan, and just goes on and on. However, the one thing, as much as it's obviously going to be anti-German and, you know, pushing the evil barbarian Nazi narrative, this is the very first book written by the Allies about World War II, published by the United States military, and not one single mention, not one, of gas chambers or Holocaust or anything like that, ovens, nothing like that in there. Now, don't you think if this is the very first book ever published about World War II and put out by the Allies, there would be all sorts of atrocity propaganda in it? There's not. I have thoroughly looked at this. There is not one mention of liberating camps or anything like that from a alleged Holocaust. And this, like I said, you can find this book online. There's a lot of them out there. This is the very first book ever written about World War II, ever. And written and published by the United States military. And it's for service members. You can see here, it even says service record. You know, this was written for actual service members who fought in World War II. Literally. Not one mention of gas chambers, not one mention of shrunken heads, none of that. There's nothing at all. Now, don't you think there was any truth to that? This book would have it in there? I mean, you know, it's very derogatory towards Germans. It describes them as murderers, barbarians, you know, and everything you would expect the American military to say. But there is nothing in here about rounding up Jews, killing Jews, gas chambers, you know, any of that. None of that's in here. They don't even talk about labor camps in here at all. I really think this is a very important piece of history to recognize when observing things from the perspective of the truth. This is just 100% absolute proof that the Holocaust narrative wasn't fabricated until years after. This was put out in 1945 by the U.S. military, describing every single battle that they fought in Europe and Japan and elsewhere in what is known as World War II. And not one single mention of a gas chamber or anything like that. This is critical right here. I was going to put this in my next episode of 100 Proofs, but I think I just want to put this video out so people are aware of it. You can find this book all over Amazon and Google and everything else. I mean, it's pretty common. It ranges from $17 to $40. I think I got this one at Goodwill for maybe $5. But yeah. Now, I don't know if there's been another version, but you know, they might have updated it in the 50s or 60s and added the Holocaust. But this right here, you know, the fact that it was in 1945, issued by the military and for the military, and no Holocaust in here, I think this is a valuable proof that's been overlooked and people need to know about. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all just complete bullshit, folks. Manufactured. And that's what they're using to do all the stuff they're doing to carry out real holocausts. Real holocausts such as the Bolshevik Holocaust of 66 million Christians murdered at the hands of Bolshevik Jews. A whole lot of more, 6 million Ukrainians murdered at the hands of the same Bolsheviks. Rheinwiesenlager, the death camps in the Rhine Valley at the end of World War II, where up to 11 million Germans were left to die of exposure for the simple crime of being German. Today we see Palestinians being murdered for the simple crime of being a Palestinian. The doctor who was arrested, the doctor who gave himself up in order to save his hospital, which they destroyed later anyway. That iconic picture of the doctor walking up to the tank when they were demanding he turn himself in. He's been held for 534 days in prison. He went to a trial recently. They did his hair to make it look like he was okay, but he isn't. He's been tortured every day. His arms showed severe signs of torture, showed signs that he's very likely had chains wrapped around his forearms and been tied and hung from the roof by chains, which is what they do. A lot of deformation in his forearms, which would show that his muscles have been all stretched and his veins have been all stretched out of place. They intend to execute this guy because they claim he's a terrorist, because they claim he was working for Hamas, because Hamas is the government of Gaza and he was working in the hospital, and the hospital is a government organization, therefore he was Hamas. That's the way they do it. It's class anything as a terrorist organization, not the IRCG or whatever it is in Iran, which is simply an elite arm of the military. They've classed this now as a terrorist organization. This would be the same as if the international court classed US Delta Force as a terrorist organization, or, you know, whatever. It's ridiculous. You can't get a wing of the government military and claim they're a terrorist organization simply because you disagree with the government of that country. Doesn't make sense at all. But that's the way they do it. Really, the terrorist organization is Israel, but this doctor is basically facing death, and he's a doctor, and they've held him for 534 days. It's horrendous what they've done to these people, folks. There was a doctor who was forced to amputate his son's leg without any anesthetic because his son's leg was so badly damaged that he had to amputate it. But he had no anesthetic to do it, and his son later died, probably from shock of having his leg amputated without anesthetic. The body goes into shock when these sorts of experiences happen. But imagine forcing a man to cut off his own son's leg and only to watch him die. What people do this? Only Israelis. Only Israelis would kidnap 2-year-olds. The amount of children that have gone missing. There have been little girls kidnapped out the front of a school the other day. 2 girls, look, they're about 8 or 10 years old, and a little boy as well, looks like he's about 10 or 12, kidnapped by IDF. They take these people to Israeli rape camps, to Israeli prisons. Israel's the only country on earth that has a special military prison that's built specifically for children, but only non-Jewish children, of course. So this is what we're facing. This is what we're facing from these people, and this is why I talk about it so much, folks, because it's ridiculous that we're just allowing this shit to happen. And like I said, if we don't deal with it, then it's going to come for us as well, because we're just allowing it to happen. That's what people don't understand, you know? And people say, well, it's all so negative. What can we do about it? Oh my God, you never provide the solutions. You are the solution. This is all a projection. The whole thing is a projection because people believe the system is real. That's what the matrix is. It's your belief that this authority is real. Even if their authority was real, well, they've abdicated their privilege to govern. Look at all the stuff that's came out about Trump. With this nipple fetish that he's got. He's got all this UFC fighting. He preferred to start World War III so the world doesn't realise that he's got a nipple fetish and likes torturing young girls. It's unfucking believable. It's like beyond idiocracy where we are. We're like we're in between the Matrix, Idiocracy and Terminator, basically. That's where we are. We are right there in the center. And that's a perfect description of it. Because you got all this smart prison and all this shit coming online in the meantime while all this other stuff's happening. The social crediting, the data scores, and I wonder if they're going to have carbon crediting. How can they have carbon crediting when they're creating these data centers which are creating, like using so much electricity and using up all the water? And what's all the water for? The water's just being sort of boiled off and going off in steam. What's that all about? None of it seems to make much sense, folks. But you know, it's difficult to bring this information to people because people say, well, what's the solution? Well, you're the solution. Sol, ven. Sol, ven. This little dog. A little bit different to nature. Sol likes to explore, and he gets off and gets himself in trouble with the neighbours. Goes and enters their yard and shit. Sol, ven. Come on, Sol. What are you doing? Funny little fella. See, they're starting their car, you get yourself in trouble. What are you doing, little guy? You gotta go and explore stuff, don't you? You gotta go and explore stuff, don't you? You're very cute, though. You're just so cute. You're a very good-natured little fella, Sol. He really is. But yeah, I don't know where I was. I got completely sidetracked. Data centers, I think. Come on, are you coming? But all off the back of the Holocaust, all this shit. But we're seeing a huge shift. Sure, we got all these data centers, we've got all this stuff going on, but again, we can stop it by non-compliance. So there's no real war that needs to be fought. We don't need violence. They want violence. Violence is something they understand. They got all these armor-clad ICE agents and bulletproof vests and all sorts of shit. I mean, you guys in America, sure, you got a lot of guns, but you've never really done anything with them. You could just go to the White House and take all your guns with you and say, hey, listen, we don't really want to use these things, but we're just here to let you know that we are prepared to if you give us no other choice. And we want to see some serious changes. Voila. We want to see some serious changes. We want to see this Epstein list released. We want this jerk out of the White House. We want this UFC arena off the fucking White House lawn. We want all these wars to stop. We want some accountability. In fact, we want to institute some new government because it's our right. In fact, it's our duty to do this. When we see that you guys are completely full of shit, then it is our duty to institute new government, and that's what we want to do. If you want to take it to the wire, well, that's on you, but I'm sure that if we word it nicely enough, you're going to find that most of these guys in black Kevlar and stuff here and most of the military are going to join the people and they're going to stand with us. So why don't you guys all just fuck off? That's kind of what needs to happen, folks. It really is what needs to happen in the United States, seriously. So, you know, you shouldn't see this information as being negative. You should see this information as being empowering, really. I mean, hopefully it helps you find the power in yourself and helps you find the power of manifestation that we all have, because we manifest this situation simply by our lack of belief in ourselves. You know, it's people say, you know, you have a thought and through meditation you can change the world. How does that work? Well, as I've said before, every good thing and every bad thing that exists on Earth happens because of an idea that was born in the mind of a single individual. This whole control system, every single new piece of legislation that comes online, the whole act that they're going to merge America and Israel, like Trump has virtually signed the United States over to Israel, just basically given it to them. All the manpower, all the military, all the intelligence, everything. This happens, this manifests because people will just look at it and go, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, yeah, actually there is. There's a lot you can do about it. You can not comply with it. And don't believe that it's a foregone conclusion. Don't look at it as negative information. Look at it as an opportunity for you to express your own power. Because all of this is just an idea. You know, the belief in authority is just an idea. They wrote shit down on a piece of paper, so that means you must do it. Well, what the fuck is that all about? If it impedes actual law, it impedes natural law, it impedes your right to be human and your right to be the best that you can be and all that you can be, then how is it law? How does that work at all? It only works because people believe that the law is real. When it isn't, it's that belief that is the matrix itself. Look how beautiful this place is, folks. It really is lovely, isn't it? Acapulco. Yeah, it really is. Sorry, I get sidetracked. And something that they've wanted to do is like nullify that within people, nullify that power within people. I was actually doing an interview the other day with someone, and he talked about how come some of us are awake and so many people aren't, and they just don't see it. And everything, when you really look into the past and look how they've done these resets, I think they do these resets all the time. And I think they get a little bit more, I don't know, more sophisticated in the way they do it every time. I don't think there's anywhere near the amount of people on Earth as what we're told. I don't think there's 8 billion people on Earth. There's a video that I posted and had in one of my videos. I don't know, it's probably in a folder somewhere. I don't know if I can find it and put it in. But it went through the count, and it went through the count of all of the major population centres and all of the urban centres and all of the rural centres, and it added up all the populations. And you know, the populations that we're given for each of these particular places doesn't add up to 8 billion. When you put it all together, it adds up to about 3 billion.
The official numbers for world population released by the United Nations, as of now, have just surpassed 8 billion people living on Earth. In 1800, there were only 900 million members of the human family spread across the world, raising to 1.65 billion in 1900, and skyrocketing to nearly 7 billion in the year 2000. Now, in 2023, we have allegedly just passed the 8 billion mark. Given past failures and the many lies spewed by the UN during recent world events, however, it is fair and justified to remain skeptical of such statistics and to do some independent investigation before blindly believing. By collecting official statistics and doing your own math, it is difficult to find a way for these numbers to add up. For example, India supposedly has a countrywide population of well over 1.4 billion citizens. But when practical calculations are made using the UN's own numbers, how they could possibly conclude such a high figure is clear as mud. Taking their official figures of populations from the largest 300 cities in India, from 12.4 million in the biggest city Mumbai, to just over 100,000 in the 300th placed city of Aurangabad, and adding them all together, that barely accounts for 200 million of this supposed 1.4 billion. If all the 300 places with the largest populations in India taken together only account for 200 million people, it is statistically and geographically impossible for there to be another 7 times this number mysteriously hiding out in the remaining small towns and villages with populations all lower than 100,000. A similar situation occurs when adding up the official figures for the entire world's 300 most populated cities. Taking the UN's own official statistics, from 24.1 million in the world's largest city of Shanghai, China, to only 361,000 people in the 300th largest city of Beirut, Lebanon, the combined figures only come out to approximately 1 billion people. Even after adding all the statistics calculated for surrounding metropolitan and suburban housing areas around each city, the total only amounts to around 1.5 billion. Where are these other alleged 6.5 billion people hiding? Being generous, independent analysts have estimated at most another billion people could possibly be spread out across the world's rural countrysides, still putting the actual number well below 3 billion. The likely reason for these exaggerated statistics is that governments are incentivized to lie about population figures in order to collect more money for social programs. Then, by raising population figures to shocking levels, fear is created in the minds of the masses, and they are even more easily able to control and sell us on expensive, enslaving solutions. This hoax has resulted in billions of dollars spent fighting the phantom of so-called overpopulation, and led to many inhumane population control programs. In reality, however, if everyone were all squeezed into a population density of 27,000 per square mile, which is comparable to New York City, 8 billion people would only fill up the state of Texas, leaving the entire rest of the world uninhabited. Thus, the idea that Earth is dangerously overpopulated and governments need to take drastic measures to combat the issue is another paper tiger attempting to scare us into submission. Overpopulation concerns led China to enact a brutal one-child policy. Forced sterilization is a method of population control in some countries. Nearly 250,000 Peruvian women were sterilized. Our government, through the UN Population Fund, is involved in population moderation programs around the world, including in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, the Philippines, Thailand, Egypt, Turkey, Ethiopia, and Colombia. The greatest threat to mankind's prosperity is government, not population growth.
You are ready for the number?
Yes.
At one point I projected under 400 million.
What?
500 million. Under 500 million.
Under 500 million.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that they have a very similar population to the United States and China?
Yes. There's 1 billion people missing.
And this goes back to what we were saying in the beginning or earlier in the podcast with all of the fake IDs and all of this stuff being found out.
Yeah, there's possibly 1 billion people missing. It's not a demographic question, Danny. It's a mathematical question. Let me ask you. It takes a couple to have 2 children to replace themselves, right? Think about it.
Yes, 2 children.
If every couple produces 2 children,
the population stinks level.
right? So, do you know how many children does every woman needs to have in her lifetime in order to triple its population in 50 years?
To triple its population in 50 years, you need to have what? Let me guess. I'm terrible at math.
I'll give you the answer because
Okay.
I asked AI. It's a crazy mathematical. If a country needs to triple or grow its population by 2.5 times, let's just say 2.5 times.
Okay.
Over a span of 50 years.
5 kids.
Each woman, you're right. Each woman needs to give birth on average between 4.5 to 5.5 children.
Wow.
Okay.
And
Now, China grew its population officially from 1950. That's when the CCP took over to control. Okay. China's population in 1950 was about 500 million. In the year 2000, 50 years later, China's population was about 1.27 billion. Okay, so it grew 2.5 times, right? From 500 million to 1.27 billion. That's 2.5 times over 50 years. Chinese women did not have, on average, have 5 children because of the one-child policy.
Yes.
Because of the Great Famine. Because of the Great Famine, tens of million people died. Because of Cultural Revolution. So China, from one political movement to another, and then to almost 4 decades of single-child policy, there's no way Chinese women had 5 kids.
So the population on the Earth appears to be different to what we're told. And I think they do these resets all the time, and I think that when they do them, like whether it's through wars, whether it's through cataclysms, such as what many people are referring to as the mud flood, I think these situations happen, but people actually survive, and I think that those of us who are awake are actually of that bloodline of the people who survived. I wouldn't be surprised if the rest, I mean, they could even be clones or whatever. I know that sounds a little far-fetched to a lot of people, but what was the whole deal with all of the babies in incubators at the World Fair and all that sort of stuff? I mean, where did all these babies come from? How did they even have incubators back in the World's Fair in like 1910 or whenever it was? You know, it's pretty crazy. So what were all the orphan trains all about? The foundlings, the foundling homes, tens of thousands of children that were rounded up and put in foundling homes and shipped out from east to west across the United States, across Europe and all over the place. What was this all about? If history is what we're told. I mean, none of it really makes any sense. And I think a lot of the people, they got them on the last reset and their consciousness is probably already in the mainframe, and that's what they're trying to do with people now. You know, I've done so much talk about this very topic over the years, how they're leading us all into this dystopian reality. And they're doing it at a really, really rapid pace through all these data centers and through everything. I mean, and people are too scared to look at it because they see the information as negative. It's not negative, it's just that people have a difficulty in processing certain forms of light because all information is simply light. It's how you process it. It's what outcome you place on it. That's why I've said no stake in the outcome. You can have no stake in the outcome. You've got to look at data as data and see it for what it is. And you realise that, you know, there's a way through this. There's a way through this whole system, but you've got to understand the power that you have. That's the only way through it. And you've got to remove stake in the outcome because most people don't do anything because they're afraid of death. Afraid something might happen. Well, guess what? You know, you came here to die anyway. That's a given. That's what you're going to do. As Jim Morrison said, nobody here gets out alive. And they just want to not have you experience that power or see that power in yourself. But even getting back to what I was saying before about how some people are probably genetically connected to the past, and some people that just won't wake up are probably clones that are already powered by consciousness that's held within a mainframe somewhere, with what they're kind of doing now. And I think some of us have this genetic memory. I mean, it gets triggered by architecture and triggered by things. I remember some of the stuff, like I was always fascinated when I was a kid. Like, as soon as I started looking through encyclopedias, which I started like just pulling them down from the shelf and looking at them. When I was like 5 years old, I liked the pictures. I couldn't understand what was written there, but I liked the style of the old pictures. They were sort of semi-sepia, a lot of them. I really liked all the section on dinosaurs. I liked all the sections on ancient history and old buildings because I liked the look of the old buildings, all the architecture. It fascinated me. The pyramids and all that sort of stuff. Learning or being told, my mother telling me that nobody knew how they built the pyramids of Giza when I was 8 years old is what actually propelled me onto this path as a researcher, you know, conspiracy theorist or whatever you want to call it. When I was 8 years old, that picture of the pyramids in those old red encyclopedias that we had on the bookshelf at my home in Adelaide. But that genetic memory, like I said, it was triggered by architecture, I would suggest, which is one of the reasons why they want to wipe out so much architecture now. Like all of the wars that have fought, every war we've fought since, you know, the last 150 years, the main thing that's happened in all those wars is they've just blown up buildings. They've destroyed the old world. Like look what ISIS has done. ISIS, apparently Islamic extremists, rampaging across the Levant, across the Middle East, destroying all ancient Islamic infrastructure. The bathhouses of Aleppo and Palmyra, all the old buildings, all the old infrastructure. Look what they did in World War One, World War Two. Bombed London, bombed Dresden, bombed Europe. Look at the great fires across America, the Great Fire of London, the great fires everywhere. Look at what they're doing now in Iran. They don't care about military targets. They're just destroying old buildings. Look what they've done in Lebanon. Just bombed Tyre, a city 3,000 years old, or possibly 5,000 years old. The Iranian civilization is like 7,000 years old. They're just destroying all the old buildings, all the old architecture, destroying that visual memory so that it doesn't trigger the genetic memory in people. Because, you know, when you look at all that stuff, when you think about this being a projection, we project reality based on what we believe is possible in reality. When we see all those old buildings and all that incredible, beautiful stuff, we can still project that reality. We are powerful enough to do that. But we don't believe in ourselves. The only thing that we're limited by is what we believe is possible. So if they can erase all of that old architecture, all of that old world stuff, and all of that genetic memory within us that is triggered by this stuff, then they can erase that reality completely, and we can never get it back because we'll have no reference point. That's something that I've said which is so dangerous about where we're going now. You know, in the erasure of all of this old stuff and the erasure of all the old skills and all the old ways, the kids that are growing up into this system will have no reference point for what freedom even looks like because they didn't know freedom. We did. You know, anybody over 60 years old knows what freedom looks like. You know, latchkey kids, you know. We used to get up in the morning before our parents did, and we just take off and go and do whatever we wanted to do for the day. I'd get up in the morning, I'd fix my lunch, I'd get myself off to school. I'd be one of the first people that would arrive there so I could play with the kids in the oval before class. Nothing going on at home. I didn't want to do the class, so I'd stay there and play with the kids in the morning. I'd have like 2 hours of playtime before school, stuff like that. And then after school, sometimes I wouldn't even go straight home. Might go down the creek or do whatever. You get home in time for dinner, get home by dark, it's all good, doesn't matter. We just go out in the morning, get up in the morning, and like on the weekends, get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, just as the sun's coming up, and just take off for the day and come back at dark, just covered in dirt and mud and whatever. That's the sort of life we had. That's what freedom was. I mean, they want to erase all of that. They don't want kids to know what it means to be free. They want kids to believe that they're growing up into a world where you've got to ask permission for everything. And there are no jobs because they're all being taken by AI. Look, those guys before with the second job, and you're training AI. That's your job, is training AI to take the job that you've got as the second job. I mean, it's just ironic that people would even do that. Even the whole internet. I said back in my third or fourth film, my last film, Transformation, the one I put out in 2010, when I said the internet, people don't realize what the internet is. The internet, it's like the nervous system of a new consciousness that we're creating, and each person with a terminal, each person with a laptop or a cell phone or whatever, is like a neural node that is plugged into that consciousness and is programming that consciousness. When you look at the stuff like Palantir and all that sort of stuff, like the fact that your cell phone does all the geo-tracking and stuff that it does, the fact that it's got a barometer in it, it knows when you go up and down stairs, it knows how high you are on a mountain, it knows when you get into a car, it knows when someone gets into the car with you, it knows when you get in an elevator, it knows what direction you're walking, knows everywhere you've been, knows how long you stopped there, listens to your conversations, knows who you're talking to, listens to your conversation, knows what advertising to send to your phone and all this sort of shit, you know? This is what these cell phones do. This is what this whole data center situation is all about, and it's all because you take these cell phones with you everywhere. I've been doing these walk and talks. I don't have a cell phone here hooked up to this. I have a cell phone because I needed it to open a bank account, which recently got interfered with, shall I say, my bank account. Someone's actually been bleeding funds out of it. I've kind of frozen all the cards and stuff with it now, so I'm going to be able to work that out, but I'm going to probably switch over to crypto. So, Jeff showed me a way I can actually get a card, a crypto card, and I can actually go to an ATM and I can pull cash out of an ATM, so I can still shop with cash and leave no paper trail for all the stuff I do, which is what I want to do, what I like to do. I just don't do anything with a card. I don't like shopping with cards, except the only thing I do with them is pull money out of an ATM, that's it. Not that I like fiat, but I just don't trust that digital tracking system, and I don't want to give it any data. But see, all this sort of stuff's coming online, and they're saturating you with war and with so much stuff, while all this data stuff is rolling out as well. I think that's one of the reasons Israel has been so perverse and blatant in this genocide as well, because they want to see how much they can outrage people and how many people are going to speak out about it, because they want tabs on all of them. And most of these people carry cell phones around, and we've already established that the new Apple i7 or i9 phone has a chip in it made in Israel, and we saw what they were able to do with their chips with the Hezbollah pages.
Hello?
Get security! And first aid!
And we've already had Benjamin Netanyahu say that everybody who has a cell phone is carrying a little piece of Israel in their pocket. So it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these people get targeted as well, if the world does turn on Israel. And the thing is, Israel won't stop. That's the reason I focus on it so much. Like, Israel is the one that's done all this stuff to undermine all of our countries with migrants and immigrants and create all of this dystopia on the ground, rapes, pillages and plunders that's happening in all Western countries, all because of Israeli-backed immigrant forces that have been sent in there. And now the whole world is turning on Israel. And Israel has been spreading out like a cancer. Like, it started off as that one little piece, and then it took over all of Palestine. Now it's expanding its borders into Jordan. It's pillaging land in Lebanon. It's pillaging land in Syria. It intends to move into Sinai and into Egypt. It intends to move into Turkey. It won't stop there. Israel has this victim mentality. It feels that it can do anything it wants to do to any people that it wants to do it to, and if anybody complains about it, then you are an enemy of Israel. You are therefore a terrorist, because they're God's chosen people, and you can't say anything bad about them because of the Holocaust. And so they will do to you what they've done to the Palestinian people, with anybody who speaks out against their actions. They are of the belief that if you say anything about them at all, if you even say Israel is a pariah, it should be destroyed. Oh, this guy wants to destroy Israel, therefore we need to wipe out him and his entire country before they attack us, because obviously they're going to attack us because he said that. You know, that's their mentality. You can't even have a heated argument with someone and say, fuck you, I'd like to smack your head in. Oh, he threatened to smack my head in, so that means I can go and kill his whole family, because obviously he's going to come and kill me. And I'm perfectly justified in killing him first, because it's self-defense, because he said something nasty about me. That's Israel's attitude. And it's doing all this stuff, making sure that everybody in the world is going to be saying Israel's pretty fucked up because of what they're doing. So that means everybody in the world is an enemy of Israel, which means everybody in the world can be murdered by Israel, because they're doing it in self-defense because you said something bad about them. And it's spreading like a cancer, and Israel won't stop. It won't stop until it takes over the entire world and destroys the entire world, as I've said so many times. If it isn't stopped, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world, and we've seen what they've done to Palestine. Palestine has been erased. It's absolutely hideous. And yes, now they are doing exactly the same thing to Lebanon, because this is how Israel fights wars. As I said, folks, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. An interesting thing, there was even an Italian minister, I don't even know what position she holds, but an Italian minister said basically the same thing. If Israel isn't stopped, it will destroy the entire world. Not that I trust her, not that I trust any ministers, but it's interesting to see that she is saying now the same thing that I've been screaming from the rooftops for the last 20 years, that if Israel isn't stopped, it intends to turn the entire world into the Gaza Strip. People are seeing it. So yeah. But what we've got to do, we need to reactivate our genetic memory. We need to create a better future by projecting one. And no, that isn't New Age thinking, that no, we're just going to manifest a new reality. What we do is we see the power within ourselves to do this, the power that has left us for the most part because we don't believe it's there, we don't know it's there. The power, the higher languages that we speak that we don't even know are there because we've not spoken them for so long, the language of feeling and emotion. So many people stand up and speak out about what's going on, the state of the world, what's going on in the Middle East, the Gaza genocide, Lebanon, Trump, all the bullshit. But they still pay their taxes and stuff. It's like people who wore masks and people who didn't wear masks in COVID. There's a great meme I actually saw of cattle on a conveyor belt going to a slaughterhouse, and they're all wearing masks, and one of them wasn't wearing a mask, and the ones with the masks on were sort of gobbing on him, saying, hey, look, this guy doesn't have a mask on. And the significance of that meme is that, yeah, the guy doesn't have a mask on, but he's still on the conveyor belt going to the slaughterhouse. Doesn't matter that he's not wearing a mask. He doesn't know the power that he has to say no. He's on this conveyor belt going to the slaughterhouse because he was told that's what he has to do. He was told he has to wear the mask. He didn't do that, but he's still prepared to go to the slaughterhouse. See, people don't know their own power. And sure, I mean, if you go out and you break everyday rules and laws that the government deems are necessary, you're going to get yourself in trouble. But if the whole country does it, then what can they do? Like if the whole country stops using cell phones and stops paying taxes, what are they going to do? What, are they going to arrest the entire country? They can't. They want data for their data centers, but what if the whole country stops giving them data? What if everybody left their cell phones at home for the day and just there was no data? Phones weren't moving. Because that's how they track it, it's the phones. Like the guy said in that Palantir clip that I showed you before, when the guy from Palantir was saying how much they benefited from Gaza, because they don't get any data when the phones aren't moving. They only get data when the phones are moving. They need to know whether you're going in and out of a building, or whether you're going up and down stairs, or whether you're talking to someone, or whether you're in an Uber, or whether you're in a car, what you're buying, what you're speaking about, what you're doing, where you're going, what you're feeling. And I'm pretty sure they can affect people with this as well, like through frequency. We've seen some of the stuff they can do through frequency. I showed you videos of stuff back in 2009 of stuff they were doing, experiments with cats, where they were changing the mood of the cat by hitting it with a certain frequency. They had to actually strap something on top of the cat's head back then, but now they don't need to. They can just do it through frequency waves, through 5G. That's a lot of what 5G's for. 5G's for their data centers, it's for their smart grid, it's for their geofencing, it's for controlling people. But I've showed you before with the IoT, the Internet of Things, whereby everything's smart, smart toaster, smart fridge, smart this, smart that, which is what all their data centers are about. You should stop buying all this smart shit. But there's also the IOB, which is the Internet of Bodies. The nanotech and all the stuff, the graphene that they've got in people is all giving them data as well. but the phone is the gateway device. So they can map your biosignature, your electromagnetic signature, using the X-band radar, but they first need to identify that it's you via your proximity to the cell phone that they've already got tabs on. And when that cell phone is moving with that biosignature, which is yours, then they've got you. They can figure it out, what they're doing. And they can put frequencies, I would suggest, into those cell phones, which very likely affect your mood, affect what you're thinking, affect all sorts of stuff. And how often have you had thoughts pop into your head and you think, well, where'd that thought come from? I've often mentioned how I've just been sitting in front of my computer sometimes and thinking, well, I need to get some more turmeric for my arthritis. And within 2 minutes I have an email arrive in my email box advertising turmeric online. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say it out loud that it was listening to my voice. I simply thought, oh, I need to get some more turmeric. And suddenly I had an email for turmeric. That's pretty random. People trying to sell you turmeric. This isn't kind of a standard email that you get. So, they're able to track and trace all this sort of shit, folks. And that's where they're heading us into. While so many people are distracted by all of these theatrics with Trump and Iran and Iraq and everything, Israel. And Israel's days are numbered, I think. I mean, the world needs to form an international coalition and get rid of these people if we're going to have any hope of freedom at all. But the problem is that they've infiltrated into all of our countries. They've got fifth columns in all of our countries, and they're likely to just simply blow up everybody's cell phones and shit and take out a good deal of the population that way. Because that's what they do, and they'll feel perfectly justified in doing it. And they would do something like that because it's really, really cruel, like to get someone, have them all receive a text message and they grab their phone with both hands and they look at it and suddenly the phone explodes and blows both their hands off and blinds them. They would do that. They'd love to do that, and then they'd go through and rape, pillage and plunder on top of that. They would really enjoy that because of the pain it would cause. They like to find painful and gruesome ways of killing people. They don't just like to kill them, they like to get pleasure from it. It's part of their religion. They believe that the more they can make their victims suffer, then the greater blessings will be bestowed upon them. That's why they do what they do. That's why they would, shoot children in front of their parents and stuff. They arrested a man and a child the other day, like a man and a 3-year-old boy, and then released them, only they released the child dead. He'd been shot in the head. Gee, how did that happen while he was in custody? Oh, we'll just arrest you two, we'll take your 3-year-old son and question him and then shoot him in the head and give him back. This is what Israel does. This is what Donald Trump and Randy Fine and Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and John Fetterman and all these fucking demented psychopathic parasites all support. This type of sadistic behavior from the Israeli military, who are the most immoral, sadistic and cowardly, and unfortunately the most well-funded terrorist organization on earth, which is what they are. A lot of people in Israel are very pissed off at Bibi Netanyahu at the moment, saying he's bad for Israel, he needs to go. And the reason they want him to go is because he couldn't convince Trump to go in and turn Iran into rubble. There wasn't enough killing, there wasn't enough war, wasn't enough bloodshed, so they want him to go because he's making Israel look bad. It's fucking unbelievable, these people. Ben Gvir just wants more death and destruction. It's just incredible the way these people think, folks. So yeah, that's why they're not happy with Bibi Netanyahu. It's freaking unreal. But anyway, folks, look, I think that's about all I got to say. I mean, like I said, we create this reality ourselves. If people could just understand that, they've given their power away, it's their willingness to do that that has created all of the problems to begin with. And this is all projection, and like I said, they're trying to remove our collective memory of all of this sort of stuff. Hola, how are you? Jeff's family just arriving home. I wonder if Nacha's with them. I don't think so. I think she's in hospital. No nacha? Nacha mañana?
Mañana.
Sí. No problema. Yeah, a little nacha. I'm very concerned about it, folks. But this family are awesome. These are such good people, folks. I can't believe all the shit that people give Jeff. And he does so much to help people. Like I said, we had 3 or 4 people, like every night, at least 2. Sometimes 3 or 4 people coming. They're coming over from like 6 o'clock until like 10 o'clock at night. Just random people coming over to use the Tzla Machine that his staff gets and brings in. All of his staff get on it. His wife goes down there and gets on it every day. People saying it's all fake and shit. They really, really believe in this machine. And like I said, I've seen some good results as well. So, yeah, and they're good people, folks. They really are. But, yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say. People have just got to be prepared to face the shadow, folks, and realise that if they can just believe in themselves, we got this. We can stop all of this through non-compliance. That's really the only way to stop it. There is no battle that needs to be fought. Now, like I said, we can project our reality by believing in ourselves, because all of this happens because we feel disempowered. We don't believe in the power that we've got, and so we create this disempowered reality. We're all going, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. No, well, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. If you don't like it, well, what are you going to do? Kill me? Well, I came here to die anyway. You just martyr me. That's all you'll do. And, you know, I've lived a good life. I don't care at this point. And that doesn't mean, no, I'm just going to go out and willingly, you know, try to get myself killed. I'm just going to not comply by, you know, trying to barge through international borders without a passport or anything like that. No, it's just stupid doing shit like that. When it comes to paying taxes, when it comes to supporting military, when it comes to keeping quiet about genocide, when it comes to abiding legislation which has been made by corrupt pedophiles, which is causing me to step outside my moral compass, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Tell me I can't do this and I can't do that, I can't fish here, I can't walk here. Well, who the fuck are you? You work for the baby eaters, don't you? Well, why am I doing what you say? Let's talk about the baby eaters and what they do and the state that they've brought this world to. Let's talk about all the race wars and all the stuff that's happening on the ground, and talk about the fact that they want this to happen. That's why they brought them all in there. So why are we doing what they say? We know what they're up to. Why are we still doing what they say? It doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, I mean, that's the way through it, folks. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with a bit of a esoteric sort of a video. I think it's like 15 minutes or something. It's pretty long. But it talks about all this sort of stuff. It talks about genetic memory. It talks about how they're trying to get us to create the timeline they want when we actually have the opportunity to create the timeline that we want. And all we really have to do is believe in ourselves. I mean, this has been the message that I've tried to bring to people for so long, ever since the beginning. To believe in yourself. You know, this whole situation that we face has all been brought about by a loss of self. And the reason I've used Palestine to bring this information to people is because, like I said, it's a key for us. It's an opportunity there. It gives us the opportunity to address the corruption in our own countries before our countries get to a situation like we see in Palestine, like we see in Lebanon, where we don't have the means to fight back and we don't have the means to say no. At the moment we do. And I think that should be embraced, that ability to do that. It doesn't require massive marches, doesn't require riots. It just requires people to refuse to comply with any legislation which causes them to step outside their moral compass. It's really as simple as that. That's all that's required to change the world. If people did that, we could change the world in a day. And this has been my message always since day one. But anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. This video has gone on a lot longer than I intended. I will look forward to speaking to you again soon. Again, I'm going to be speaking at Liberpulco in Serbia, or in Liberland. You can get a ticket at the Anarchapulco website. You'll find a link below. And I'm going to be speaking at Anarchapulco as well in February, which is going to be probably in Puerto Vallarta. Liberpulco is going to be in August in Liberland, Serbia. And if you're in Europe, I look forward to seeing you there. I'm actually going to be heading over there a little bit early. I have some very dear friends in Croatia that I want to go and hang out with. There's this beautiful little cabin that they let me stay in there. It's a wonderful place. I want to go and hang out there for a while. Go to Liberland. I want to go and see a very dear friend of mine who lives in the Netherlands, whose father died recently, so I want to go and pass my condolences and love on to them. And then I will be back in Mexico. I'm not sure when. Probably August or September or something like that. I should be back. Probably September, I would say. But I'll be here in Acapulco for another week or so. I've got all this legal stuff going on at the moment with residency applications and all sorts of shit like that, which is kind of exciting. It means I won't have to have my 4-year temporary residence anymore. I'll actually be a permanent resident of Mexico, which I'm really looking forward to. But I can't travel at the moment until all that's done. But yeah, I am looking forward to speaking at Liberpulco and at Anarchapulco. And if you use my name Egan and you want to come, you will get a 10% discount on your ticket with that. And it's the same with the Tzla Machine, folks. If you do want to have a look at the Tzla Machine, you can use my name Egan and you will get $500 off that purchase. I had a few people write to me saying they can't seem to get through when they're emailing the Tzla people. I don't know, folks. I'm not involved in the Tzla people or the website or anything, but apparently when you go to the Tzla website, like tzla.club, apparently there's a thing that says learn more or something, and that takes you to a Telegram group. Apparently everything is done through that Telegram group. So that's how to get involved with that if you want to start looking into the Tzla Machine. And again, folks, if you use my name, you'll get $500 off. And I'm hearing a lot of good reports about it. But anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to leave you with this kind of esoteric video about manifesting our reality. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon, folks. Please take very good care. Until then, in Lakesh.
Armageddon is a reptilian AI software that has been used to torment humans from their cellular memories of Atlantis and Lemuria. So most humans do not remember consciously their Atlantean cataclysm, Lemurian Holocaust timelines until you activate your upper stranded DNA. Each DNA strand contains a cellular memory. So when the media is broadcasting Armageddon AI software, that the world is going to end, that there's going to be a catastrophe, subconsciously it triggers within people their quote-unquote fear that it's going to happen again, what happened in Atlantis and what happened in Lemuria. But if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, said Nikola Tesla. You see, at a certain frequency or higher dimension, there is no time. There is only consciousness moving through different densities. So World War I, World War II, and potentially World War III are all happening simultaneously on a certain frequency band. It's like a loop, and history repeats itself unless we learn from the past. Now, 5 companies control 90% of the media, and it's a scalar wave battle. And so the collective consciousness decides what timeline they are going to go by and what's going to manifest on the 3D based upon where they're putting their attention. So it's the collective consciousness that decides which timeline humanity or the majority of humanity will go. And so World War III is an artificial AI timeline. Revelation in the Bible, by the way, which was included by the Council of Nicaea, was a mass formation psychosis operation to incite mass fear broadcasting and destruction. For example, Revelation chapter 20, verse 10. The devil who deceived them was thrown into a lake of burning sulfur where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They were tormented day and night forever and ever and ever. What kind of God or alien God in the sky, if their children don't obey him, would throw them in a burning hell forever and ever and ever and ever? Use common sense. This vengeful God was made up by the Council of Nicaea, influenced by draconians through the Church of Rome. Do your own research. These artificial AI technologies are often instituted via holographic inserts, which are inserts of false or real memory, which is programmed into the collective consciousness for mind control purposes and DNA genetic manipulation. These holographic inserts are used to manipulate timelines. Remember, sound cannot lie, but light can bend and refract and lie. And so one example of this is Project Bluebeam, which utilizes holographic inserts as a strategy to control humanity. 2030, One World Order. Project Bluebeam utilizes holographic inserts for number one, simulated religious events, the use of holograms to project images of deities, significant religious figures in the sky, which appear to communicate to people based upon their faith or religion. So in the Council of Nicaea, for example, they started creating these deities to give your energy, your worship, your attention outside of yourself, and then they can present holographic inserts of Jesus coming back into the sky, and then everybody's going to worship him, when in all strategy, it's a mind control one world order. And if you see Jesus coming back in the sky, it's a holographic insert, because the truth will set you free. And the truth is that everything you need is within you. You are the inner Christos. And this was Jesus's true message. Now, other ways that they use holographic inserts are hoaxes or alien invasions, staging of false flag operations such as alien invasions, Armageddon, to unite humanity under a singular authoritarian government, one world order, as they are discussing currently at the World Economic Forum 2030. So, what is the antidote for these artificial AI timelines? The answer is a collective mass awakening to the truth, which knows that the inner Christos is within you, in the intron potential DNA scientists used to call junk. It's not junk, it's potential DNA. Take a look within and you will find you are who you've been looking for the whole time. So a collective mass awakening, waken us up to the truth, which will prevent mass extinction and prevent the artificial AI timeline of World War III. And so the most commonly used term in the Bible is do not be afraid, which is used 365 times. Disclosure will likely happen, but do not be afraid, because the truth will set us free. And divinity is simplicity. And at the end of the day, it's very simple. Love versus fear. Search your energy fields, systematically eliminate all programming of fear, and choose yourself, choose love, become self-sustainable, take your power back. We're in for a interesting 5 to 10 years, and this is what we signed up for. Most epic love story ever written. New Earth, let's go.